There's a specific kind of silence that follows a sentence like that. Not the quiet of an empty room, not the comfortable pause between people who love each other. It's the silence that comes after something has been said that can never be unsaid. The kind that settles into your chest like concrete and stays there long after the room has moved on. My father said it on December 31st at 11:47 p.m., 13 minutes before the new year. I still remember the exact time because I glanced at the clock on their kitchen wall when the words landed. An old rooster clock my mother picked up at a yard sale in 2004. I remember thinking, of all the things to focus on in this moment. My name is Delaney. I'm 34 years old. I have a 6-year-old daughter named Wren, and until that night, I genuinely believed my parents loved us both equally. Let me tell you what actually happened. My sister Brecken lives 40 minutes from our parents' house in suburban Tennessee. She married at 24, had 3 kids by 30, and built what my parents always described, without irony, as the right kind of life. A brick house on a quiet street, a husband named Travis with a steady paycheck, school fundraisers on the fridge, a minivan in the driveway. I took a different road. I moved to Nashville after college, built a career in financial consulting, got married at 30, had Wren at 32, and then divorced at 33 when my ex-husband made choices I never saw coming. No screaming, no dramatic confrontation, just a quiet unraveling, and then me, alone, rebuilding everything from scratch with a toddler on my hip. By December of that year, I was stable. More than stable, honestly. I had a good income, a clean apartment, a daughter who was curious and funny and kind. I wasn't asking for sympathy. I wasn't asking for anything except to be treated like I still belonged to this family. That New Year's Eve, my parents hosted their annual gathering at their house outside Murfreesboro. Brecken came with Travis and their 3 kids, Casey, Lottie, and the youngest, a toddler named Rhett. I drove 2 hours with Wren in the back seat, a homemade praline cake in a carrier on the passenger floor, and a bag of gifts I'd spent real thought on. When I walked through the front door, I noticed the living room immediately. There was a corner, a dedicated, deliberate corner, stacked with wrapped presents. Not a modest pile, a production. Towers of boxes in coordinated wrapping paper, oversized bows, gift bags stuffed with tissue, the kind of display you'd photograph. I counted without meaning to. 30-something boxes minimum. Every single tag read Casey, Lottie, or Rhett. Wren had one gift under the tree, small, modestly wrapped. I didn't say a word. I set our things down. I hugged my mother. I helped carry food to the table and made conversation, and pretended the corner wasn't screaming at me from across the room. After dinner, my father started distributing gifts. What followed was an hour I will never forget. My parents, I confirmed the number later through a conversation Brecken had with Travis, loudly in the kitchen while I was 3 feet away, had spent $4,000 on gifts for Brecken's kids. A gaming console, 2 new bikes, tablets still in the Apple boxes, matching North Face jackets in each kid's size, a remote control car the size of a small dog. Wren received a book set. A genuinely nice book set, age-appropriate, thoughtfully chosen. But Wren sat on that floor and looked at her single small package, surrounded by her cousin's avalanche of gifts, and she did what well-raised 6-year-olds do. She didn't cry. She didn't ask questions. She quietly opened her books, sat cross-legged on the rug, and started reading the first page. That image, my daughter, composed and unbothered, while the room celebrated around her, did something to me I can't fully describe. Not rage, something quieter, something that required me to breathe very slowly through my nose and keep my face completely still. Later that night, around 11:30, Brecken took her kids upstairs to get ready for the countdown. Travis was watching something on his phone at the kitchen table. My parents and I were alone in the living room for the first time all evening. I made a decision I probably shouldn't have. I said calmly, "Mom, Dad, I noticed Ren only had one gift tonight. I'm not upset, I just want to understand if something changed." My mother looked at my father looked at me, and then he said it. "Delaney, Brecken's kids need more support. That's just the reality. And honestly, you've always been fine on your own. You don't need us the way they do." I waited. I thought maybe that was the worst of it. Then he said, "And between you and me, it's been easier around here without the tension you bring. So maybe next year, just stay away. We're better without you and your kid pulling focus." Pulling focus. That's what he said. My daughter and I were pulling focus. I looked at that rooster clock, 11:47. I picked up Ren's book set, folded the paper neatly, and placed it back in our bag. I got my daughter from the upstairs hallway where she'd been playing quietly on the steps. I put on her coat. I put on mine. My mother said, "Delaney, don't be dramatic. It's almost midnight." I said, "Okay, Dad, you're right." And I left. I want to be honest about something. The drive home was hard. Ren fell asleep 20 minutes in, her cheek pressed against the window, her book set clutched in her lap. I drove in silence for nearly an hour before I let myself feel any of it. And then I felt all of it, privately, with the radio off and the highway empty. I cried once. Then I stopped. Then I started thinking. There's a version of this story where I spiral, where I text my parents at 2 a.m., where I send long emotional messages, where I call Brecken and demand she explain herself, where I perform my pain publicly until someone acknowledges it. I didn't do any of that. Instead, I spent the first week of January doing something very specific. I got organized. I am a financial consultant. Numbers are not abstract to me. They are a language, and I am fluent. So I sat down at my kitchen table, opened my laptop, and I looked at everything. My parents' finances were not a mystery to me. Over the years, in moments of need, they had come to me. Not to Brecken, to me. I had helped my father refinance the house in 2019. I had walked my mother through restructuring her small business debt in 2021. I had co-signed exactly nothing, but I had guided everything, donated my professional expertise freely, for years, because they were my parents, and that's what you do. I also knew that in the previous 18 months, they had made some decisions I had gently warned them against. A camper purchased on credit, a kitchen renovation financed at a high rate. Brecken and Travis had borrowed money from them. I didn't know the full amount, but I'd overheard enough. I wasn't planning revenge. I want to be clear about that. I was planning clarity. I was deciding, very calmly, who I was going to be from this point forward. I also called my therapist. I'm not embarrassed to say that. I told her what happened. She asked me one question. What do you need this year to look like for Ren? I thought about my daughter on that floor, her stillness, her dignity. I said, I need her to know that the people who underestimate her are not the people she has to perform for. 2 weeks passed. I focused on work. I took Ren to a New Year's Day brunch with my 2 closest friends, Sloan and Perry, who brought her flowers and made her feel like the most important person in the room. I didn't tell them the full story. I just watched Ren laugh, and I filed that image away somewhere permanent. Then my phone rang. January 14th, a Thursday afternoon. My father's name on the screen. I let it ring once, twice. On the third ring, I answered. Hey, Dad. His voice was different than it had been on New Year's Eve. That night, he had been comfortable, settled into his own authority, the way men sometimes get when they've been unchallenged for too long. This voice was careful, measured, worn around the edges.
"Honey," he said. "How are you? How's Ren?"
I said we were fine. There was a pause. Then, "It's been a tight month. You know how January is. After the holidays, we overspent a little, and there's a situation with the house payment coming up, and..." I let him find his way to the number. "We need $20,000, Delaney. I know it's a lot, but you've always been the responsible one, the capable one." There it was, the capable one, the responsible one, the one who doesn't need them until they need her. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't say everything I could have said. I didn't remind him of the $4,000 spent on coordinated gift wrap 13 days earlier. I didn't mention Travis and Brecken's unpaid loan. I didn't bring up the camper, or the renovation rate, or the years of free professional guidance I had given without a single invoice. I said one thing. "Dad, I'm going to treat you the way you treated Ren and me on New Year's Eve." Silence.
I let it sit there.
Then I said, quietly, "You told me you were better without us. You told me Brecken's family was the one that needed support. You told me, in front of the rooster clock, 13 minutes before midnight, that we were pulling focus. So I'm going to stay away. Because you were right. You are better without us. And this $20,000, it's going to stay right here, where it's needed." He started to speak. I heard him pull in a breath, the beginning of a reframe, an explanation, the scaffolding of a justification. I said, "I love you, Dad. I genuinely do. But love doesn't mean I fund the consequences of you choosing Brecken's family over mine. That's not coldness. That's just the reality. Your words." I hung up. I won't tell you it felt triumphant. It didn't. It felt like closing a door on a room I had spent 34 years trying to make warm, finally accepting that the warmth was never going to come from that direction. What it did feel like, and I want to be precise here, was clean. My father called 2 more times that week. My mother called once. I didn't answer, but I sent a single text to my mother. "I'm not angry. Ren and I are well. When you're ready to talk about what happened, not about money, but about what actually happened, I'm here." She didn't respond for 11 days. On the 12th day, she called. She didn't apologize outright. That's not how she's built. But she said, "I should have spoken up that night. I didn't, and I should have." That was enough. Not everything, but enough to begin. Ren never knew the full story. She was 6. She didn't need to carry it. What she knew was that in January, her mom took her to a pottery class, and to a bookstore where she got to pick anything she wanted, and to a diner that served pancakes shaped like animals. She knew she was chosen. Loudly, consistently, without condition. That was the only justice that actually mattered.